guys can hear me good. I wanted to go live since Trump and him is going to talk and discuss further what they're going to do with Putin. So we still have 3 minutes left though, but I wanted to start the live and just wait. It will start soon. Thanks for joining. What do you think they're going to discuss? I'm actually watching this one on Fox News. So let's see. Stand up for a bit. My legs hurt. You guys can chit chat and don't forget to hit the like button. You got 60 seconds left. I will put it on big screen once they start their broadcasting. I can't really do that right now until they start. How's everybody's morning? Hopefully it's, I pray that it's well. If you're new here, please subscribe. Make sure when you subscribe, make sure the notifications are turned on so you'll be notified, or you'll know when I go live or if I upload. Oh. Hopefully this does not buffer or anything. I restarted my computer before I went live, before I set everything up. So I guess we'll find out. Can you guys hear this?
Before he hopefully meets them together. And joining us now on the phone with more details, the President of the United States, the 45th and 47th President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. That's quite a crew. That's quite a crew.
Well, Mr. President, the whole world was watching yesterday as you got leaders from the European Union, NATO, as well, from all over the world. How did you get them to Washington, to the Oval Office, so fast?
Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it. Now we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came. And they said there's really never been anything like it. You know, you have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been, such a group. And these really represent the European nations, these people. And they're very good people, and they want to end the war, that horrible war with Ukraine and Russia. It's a horrible war.
It was such a sense of unity, and we all enjoyed watching it because America is on top, and it was on your turf, on your terms. I know yesterday you talked about arranging a meeting to take place in 2 weeks between Putin and Zelenskyy. Is there an update there, and do you plan to attend?
No, I thought I'd do first let them meet. You know, they haven't been exactly best friends. They haven't gotten along very well. And I called President Putin yesterday, and I do have a good relationship, but it, only matters if we get things done. Otherwise, I don't care about the relationship. I do have a good relationship with him, but I want to get things done. I've solved 7 wars. We ended 7 wars. I thought this would be one of the easier ones, and this has turned out to be the toughest one. India, Pakistan, these were big ones, and also all big ones, and some going for 31, 32 years, one for 35 years. The Congo, think of that, the Congo and Rwanda for 35 years. I got that one done. I got them all done, but this one is the one that is the most difficult, and I thought it would be an easy one. So I hope President Putin is going to be good, and if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelenskyy will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also. The thing is a mess. This was started by Joe Biden. This was a war that should have never happened. Millions of people are dead. The country's blown to pieces, Ukraine, and it's a shame. Melania wrote that beautiful note to President Putin about children. The children are devastated. They're taken away from their homes. The whole thing. And this is a war that would have never, ever, ever happened if we had a president, a real president.
So, Mr. President, it's been barely a week since you announced that first meeting in Alaska. It's just been days since that meeting, and then you had the meeting yesterday. In the course of having these negotiations, what has surprised you the most between Zelenskyy and Putin in terms of their strength or weakness of their position right now?
Well, I think the fact that maybe they're getting along a little bit better than I thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up the 2 meeting. I would have set up the 3 and try that. But I think they're doing a little bit better. There's been tremendous bad blood. And again, this was all worked out by an administration that didn't have a clue. And if you remember, they said, well, if you made a minor incursion, that would be okay. That was the end. The whole thing when Biden made that statement. But minor incursion, what does that mean? So I think they're doing okay. I wouldn't say they are ever going to be best friends, but they're doing okay. We're just going to see. So we're setting up a meeting. I sort of set it up with Putin and Zelenskyy. And, they're the ones that have to call the shots. We're 7,000 miles away, in all fairness. We spent through the previous administration $350 billion. Europe has spent a lot also, $100 billion, but it should be reversed if we should have been in for anything. But it wouldn't have happened, so that would have been much better because so many people died. This is the biggest bad situation since World War II. There's been nothing even close.
So, Mr. President, I know you've been doing deals your entire life when it comes to real estate deal, but this was something a little different. The thing that is surprising a lot of people is when it comes to the security guarantees. I know President Putin said no NATO, and you said, we're just going to take it off the table. But you did get President Putin to agree to NATO-like protections. So tell us about that. What does that entail?
Well, the war really started over NATO and Crimea. And they wanted Crimea back. That was given, not a shot fired by President Obama in perhaps the worst real estate deal I've ever seen. There's been a couple of them. I would say the Gaza Strip was a pretty bad one, too. Given by Israel so they'd have peace. So they gave away a big percentage of their oceanfront property in order to have peace. How did that work out? Not so good. And Crimea is the apple of Ukraine. I mean,
Welcome
it's so beautiful.
everybody.
And Obama gave it away. Nobody ever mentions that. If I ever did that, the fake news would be, they would be writing about me day and night for years. He gave it away. He demanded that they let it go, and Russia came in and took it, just took it like from candy from a baby. It was really Obama's, not really, I mean, that was pure and simple, Obama's fault. What a terrible thing he did to that country. And so they lost their heart. They lost the heart and soul of the Ukraine 14 years ago, whatever it might be. And it was so unnecessary to do that. And that's when it really began, when Obama gave it away. And then you had a lot of other events, but you have, tremendous hostility. The people of Ukraine were mortified when that took place. That really began a lot of hatred when they gave it. And they didn't have to. Not a shot was fired. They just took over the most valuable piece and the biggest piece in a sense of, and surrounded on four sides by ocean, just a little passage to get you back onto the mainland. The most beautiful piece of property I've
everybody
ever seen.
think
It's a
about
real
all
estate
this?
developer. I look at it, I said, why the heck did he do that to them? And so there's great hostility, and maybe rightfully so. But one thing was NATO. They went in and they said, we want you, we want to get Crimea back. This was at the beginning. Now, Putin, in all fairness to him, he made a good deal. He got it from Obama. But they said, we want it back, and that was not exactly well received because it was like 12 years before. That's where Russia has its submarine base, and, that's been there long before Putin. They've been there for a long time. But long before Putin. And the other thing they said is, we want to be a member of NATO. Well, both of those things are impossible because, again, long before Putin, it was a no-no by Russia or the Soviet Union or anything you want to call it. Sort of a similar thing as it gets larger, but very similar. But it was
everybody.
always a no-no. You could not. Russia said, we don't want the so-called opponent or the enemy, let's use that term, we don't want them on our border. And they were right. They were okay. And yet they went in and they asked, with the United States, they said, put us into NATO, and everybody knew you just can't do that. They would never have agreed to it. This is before Putin. This is long before Putin. It was just a no-no. It was something that was never going to happen. So they asked for it, and they shouldn't have asked for it because it was, very insulting. They could have asked for many other things. But the other thing they wanted to do is getting Crimea back, and that was given. They had built, they were expanding everything and spending a lot of money. All because Barack Hussein Obama gave it away in one of the dumbest real estate deals I've ever seen.
But Mr. President, you got the Article 5 protections, though, for Ukraine. So they're not going to be a part of NATO, but you still got them the same protection.
So they're not going to be a part of NATO, but we've got the European nations, they'll front-load it, and they'll have some of them, France and Germany, a couple of them, UK, they want to have.
God bless you guys.
I don't think
Thank
it's
you
going to be a
for the
problem, to be
likes.
honest with you.
Thank you.
I think Putin is tired of it. I think they're all tired of it. But you never know. We're going to find out about President Putin in the next couple of weeks. That I can tell you. And we're going to see where it all goes. It's possible that he doesn't want to make a deal. I always said, you interviewed me.
You guys
Lawrence,
can chat
and I
with me
think
if you want.
Charlie also. Lawrence, I hate to tell you, Charlie was about the first person in the world to endorse me. He endorsed me about a year before I ran. And that's why he called me this morning, sir, would you do an interview? And unlike Biden, I don't need permission from my staff, okay? And then only to be told that I'm not doing it. But Charlie endorsed me about a year before, I think, and he puts it up on the site. It's still not checked. It's still on the site. I endorsed President Trump before he even ran. So I always like a guy like that, I must tell you, Now, Lawrence is going to be a super but he was all over the place, and they're going to get a lot of land. But this was a war, and Russia is a powerful military nation, you know, whether people like it or not. It's a powerful nation. It's a much bigger nation. It's not a war that should have been started. You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. And you know, it's not like they've stopped. If you, I assume you've all seen the map. You know, a big chunk of territory is taken, and that territory has been taken. Now they're talking about Donbass, but Donbass right now, as you know, is 79% owned and controlled by Russia. So they understand what that means.
Mr. President, what did the other leaders tell you? Because it seemed to be, this is unlike the first Trump term. There was great unity.
I'm sorry about that, guys. Somebody came in. I apologize for that.
But when you got them in the
We're back.
Oval Office, and we had this photo.
It's everybody's
sitting at
thoughts.
the resolute desk, and all of these world leaders are sitting in front of you. What did they say to you privately? Because it looked like they're on the same page as you, sir.
Yeah, they are. They're very good people. They're very good leaders of their countries. And they want to get back to leading their country. You know, they're consumed far more with this than we are. Because they're right there. You know, we have an ocean that's separating us, right? Think called an ocean. A big, beautiful ocean. And they don't. You know, they're right there. So they have to, you know, it's a different kind of a thing for them. When it comes to security, they're willing to put people on the ground. We're willing to help them with things, especially probably if you could talk about by air, because there's nobody has the kind of stuff we have.
Good morning. Don't forget to hit the like button.
I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think if a deal is made, you know, famous last words, right? But I think if a deal is made, I think Russia's had it, they've all had it, and for a very extended period of time, I don't think there'll be a problem. But there'll be some form of security. It can't be NATO, because that's just not something that would ever happen. They couldn't do that. So who would want that? I mean, if you were Russia, who would want to have your enemy, your opponent, sitting on your line? You don't do that. So it was always thought that Ukraine was sort of a buffer between Russia and the rest of Europe. And it was a big, wide buffer. Everything worked out well until Biden got involved. You know, when Biden gave them $100 billion right up front, that'll give them anything. You know, I don't know if you know it, but since I've been there, we don't pay. First of all, I made a deal to take rare earth. That's the equivalent of much more than the $350 billion that Biden got away, because I felt so foolish. It was so stupid what he did. And I was able to make a deal with Ukraine, and they were very nice. They have great rare earth, among the best in the world. And we took much more than the $350 billion, and they were great about it. So we got that, you know, handled. But now we don't pay any money to Ukraine. They buy through NATO, because I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. 2% when they didn't pay, 2% of GDP, 2% when they didn't pay, and 5% now they do pay. So it's trillions of dollars. So what we do is we make the equipment, the military equipment, and sell it at a full price. We sell it to the NATO. We sell it to NATO, and NATO pays us immediately, and that's the way it's working. And then NATO takes it and does what they want with it, because they really have the right to do what they want with it. But for the most part, they give it to Ukraine.
Thank you for
So we're not
joining.
losing. We're not like we were with Biden, where we were paying hundreds of billions of dollars that we're paying nothing.
President Trump, during the meeting yesterday, when you decided to call Vladimir Putin, what was the reaction among the other people in the room, and what was President Putin's reaction to being brought into a phone call in the middle of your meeting?
Well, I think they expected it. I didn't do it in front of them. I thought that would be disrespectful to President Putin. I wouldn't do that, because they have not had the warmest relations. And actually, President Putin wouldn't talk to the people from Europe. I mean, that was part of the problem. They had no communication. They had no communication with the White House for years, as people died. Years with Biden and his people. No communication. Putin told me years. It was years that he didn't speak to anybody from the White House, and it was a long time that he didn't speak to anybody from Europe. No, it's a fractured relationship. And when I came in, I always had, despite the Russia hoax, which truly was a very dangerous thing for our country, but despite that, I maintained a very good relationship. I mean, you saw that when he got off his plane, I got off my plane. There's a warmth there that you can't, there's a decent feeling. And it's a good thing, not a bad thing. People would say, oh, that's such a terrible thing. It's not a terrible thing. You know what? We've got the most nuclear weapons in the world and the most powerful. He's got second.
So can you describe for us how that happened? Did you just announce that you were going to go into the other room to make the phone call, and then you got up and left, and it came back?
I think they sort of knew I was, at the end of the meeting, I was going to call President Putin, and President Putin expected it, and he was there. Now, by the time I called him, it was 1 o'clock in the morning in Russia. Russia's a big place. You know, they have 11 time zones, I believe. 9 or 11, but I think it's 11.
But
Think
Mr.
of it,
President,
11 time zones. That's a lot of time zones. So it was late. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, but he picked it up very happily. Sure, he works very hard, like we all do. And we had a very good call. And I told him that we're going to set up a meeting with President Zelenskyy, and you and he will meet. And then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up. But it takes in this case 2 to tango. They have to have somewhat of a relationship. Otherwise, we're just wasting a lot of time. I don't want to be doing that for. I just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers. We're losing Russian and Ukrainian, mostly soldiers. Some people, as missiles hit wrong spots or get lobbed into cities like Kiev and town.
Anybody
But
wants to
if I can save
tell me what they think about
7,000
this?
people a week from being killed, I think that's a pretty. I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, and this will be one of the reasons. Well, I think I saved a lot of lives with India, Pakistan. They were going at it. The planes were being shot down. That was going to be maybe a nuclear war if I let that go. And I did that through trade. I was negotiating with both of them. I said, I'm not going to make a trade deal with you guys. You fight until you get peace. And I got them on the phone. I made a peace deal. And many deals, 6, actually 7. And then we took out the nuclear capability from Iran. That was a big one in those pilots or those planes when people saw, we had the B-2 fly right over President Putin as he left his plane. He looked up, he said, what the hell is that? That's a hell of a noise. We didn't make it environmentally friendly, okay?
So did the First Lady let you read the letter that Mrs. Zelenskyy wrote to her?
Don't forget to hit the like
I
button.
purposely didn't. I did not do it purposely. It was given to me sealed, and I'm sure it would have been fine, but she gave a letter to Melania, and Melania told me it was absolutely a beautiful letter, so I'm going to see it, sending me a copy, but I gave it to her yesterday sealed. It's nice when you give something sealed. I don't like when things are wrong. I don't like it. So anyway,
Mr. President,
it was a beautiful letter, I'm sure.
Mr. President, there was a lot of talk yesterday when we were watching this about what happens after your presidency. How can we ensure that this conflict, that Putin doesn't inch in closer or more into the Ukraine territory? Is there anything that we can do? Can our congressmen and women pass any laws that would involve Article 5, how would that be handled?
All you can do is make sure you get a good president, not one of these wackos like in California that that runs the worst state anybody's seen. Or that guy in Illinois who his family threw him out of the business because he was no good. Now he's running Illinois. He wants to run for president. He's got 0 chance. Maybe Newsom has a little bit of a chance. I don't know. It's hard to believe because his record's bad, but all you can do is hope you don't get that as president. We have a great bench, as you know that. We have great talent. And J.D. and Marco and Scott Besson's been great, and Howard. They're all, we have such superstars. Remember this, take a look at the border. The border was a disaster. Millions of people were pouring through, open border. Within 2 months it was perfect, and within now, every week, every month they say 0 people are coming in illegally. We were taking people from prisons all over the world, gang members, insane asylum, mental patients from the worst insane asylums in the world that dropped into our place. So now we have a very secure border, beautiful border. I built hundreds of miles of wall. Without that, we couldn't have a secure border.
Mr. President, it's clear that you have operational control of the border. I mean, when the numbers hit 0, that is clear for the whole world to see. I'm curious.
3 months in a row.
Right, without new laws even having to be passed. But Mr.
But now I'm
President,
doing something that I'm having such fun with because I'm helping people. I've made Washington D.C.
God bless
a-
Trump.
It's just an incredible place. In literally 4 days, I have friends that say they're going out to dinner. Did you see what's happening with the restaurants? They're bursting. They're all closing and going bankrupt. I mean, it would be great. There's a guy named Sean Hannity. He might take a very lovely young lady that he knows very, very well to dinner in Washington, and they don't have to. She's sitting right next to you, by the way.
That's right.
I
Mr. President,
don't want to get him in trouble, so I better explain exactly. We don't want any secrets here. But
That's exactly
he's
right.
that's the greatest relationship. I hope I'm not breaking it into. This could be the biggest. Hey, this could be the most important thing I said. But let me tell you, those are two great, Ainsley and Sean, great people. And when they go out to dinner, I don't want to see them get mugged. Now they can go out, they can hold hands, they can walk down the street. They're both superstars. I want to know who makes more money, because you got to be making a lot.
Mr. President, we're so happy for them. But on a serious note, Mr. President, when you have those world leaders, because this is a topic of conversation for the whole world, when you have them sitting in front of you, did they express concerns about the next president that they're not going to get the same type of treatment, security guarantees? Part of the deterrent of future attacks is your peace through strength. So that they
This was
say to you,
yesterday.
Mr. President, we're concerned about the next
It's
leader.
right here.
They did. We talked about it. You know, it is what it is. I could say the same thing about them. I said, supposing you get a terrible leader in UK or France, or we had Ursula there who runs the whole gamut. We just made the biggest trade deal in the world, and she's in charge of the Commission, the European Commission, and she's the boss. She was there too. That was really an incredible array of people. But they say that actually maybe even more with regard to the economy. We have $17 trillion being invested in the United States and committed, and numbers that nobody's ever seen for AI plants and for this and for that, and we're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars. That's why we're doing so well. Plants are being built all over the country. Our country has gone from a dead country 1 year ago, we're the hottest country in the world, and every one of those people said it yesterday. They said in 6 months you made this the hottest country in the world that we are. We have $17 trillion coming in, and they said, well, what happens if you're no longer president and somebody comes in and cancels the tariffs, and we've invested hundreds of billions of dollars in building these plants, and now you have some anti-business person come in? I said, well, life is full of nasty little surprises, but I don't think it's going to happen. We have a great bench, and the bench is really talented. You see a lot of the people, and I think you're going to get great people in government.
Well, President Trump, we want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. We know that you have lots of other wars around the world that you need to end, and that's more important than anything. So we appreciate you joining us this morning.
No, thank you very much. Carol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ainsley, thank you. I hope I didn't get you in trouble. No,
We
it's a
appreciate
great
your
couple.
support.
I'll
Thank
say
you.
it. I like this. It's a great couple. We love them. Have a
Thank
good
you,
time,
Mr.
everybody.
Congratulations for yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all very much.
The 45th and 47th President of the United States.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.
Yeah, this wasn't going to be long, but I wanted to record it anyways, because I really wanted to hear what Trump had to say on it. But I am sorry for the interruption earlier. But thank you guys so much for joining me, though, and watching it with me. If you are new, please subscribe to my YouTube. Make sure the notifications are on, like I said, so you know when I upload or go live. You can support me. It's always appreciated, please. On Patreon, the link is in my bio on my YouTube. And don't forget to hit the like button, and you can comment on any of my videos or short videos. And I actually uploaded a new short video. It's amazing. It's nature. It's, a good time. So go check that out and comment, like it. And yes, so with all that, thank you guys so much, and I do pray you guys will be safe today. Enjoy the weather if it's nice. I hope it is. And it's not humid. But it is still early, so I guess we'll see. Enjoy your coffee. Stay in prayer. But thank you guys so much for joining.